Bro, I'm not late. I'm just early because when I talk, you get the real info. It's your boy, Step Back Kid, Mikey. I'm in the building. We talking about Dennis Smith Jr. trade to the Detroit Pistons for Mr. Derek. I'm on fire rolls. Man, old man got a nice, sweet mid-range game, and he's going to go over to the New York Knicks. But I'm focusing in on my boy, one of my guys, Dennis Smith Jr., 23 years of age, a budding star coming out of NC State. This kid was supposed to be something special, okay? He came in his first year, drafted by the Dallas Mavericks, really did his thing with the Mavericks in his first year. When we look at his stat lines, okay, it's quite obvious that he had something going with the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, first year averaged 15 points a game with 5 assists. However, in the second year, and that's, of course, the Luka Doncic year, 13 points and 4 assists. The ball wasn't in his hands. His field goal improved, but that said, they didn't gel for some reason. He then gets traded with an opportunity to go to the New York Knicks. He comes in, looks pretty solid, averages 14.7 points per game with 5.4 assists. Okay, that was over 21 games. Had a couple of injuries. Dennis Smith Jr. disappeared, and that's the ghost act. From 18 to 20, them years, he was gone. It was a wrap. We didn't hear about Dennis Smith Jr. He was off and on injured, came in out of shape. And now 5 years in to a guy that was supposed to be a big-time superstar in the NBA, you have a different trajectory. Now it's comeback time. I'm told that he came back over the summer and has recovered. To me, folks, if you want to compare him, if you want to look at him as a player, there's a couple guys that come to mind. I'm old school, so you kids going to laugh, but, there's a guy named Steve Francis, okay? Steve Francis is one of those guys, an exceptional leaper, scorer, could do it all. One of my favorite basketball players to watch, okay, back in the day. That's one guy. And then you got the scoring ability of a Stephon Marbury, okay? And I think when you combine those two, you get a Dennis Smith Jr., maybe a B level of those guys at this point. Athleticism-wise, he's right up there with some of the top athletes in the NBA, okay? And I'm going to say in NBA history, okay? He's one of those guys. However, what he has become now is tough to see. He hasn't improved on the three-point shooting. That's the biggest issue. Even in the 3 games played this year, you can see 2020, 3 points a game, 20% field goal range. It's not going to work, even with the minutes played. I understand it's not a lot. 19 was 5 points on 34%. So every year he's gone down. Now, maybe because of the minutes, I understand. However, it is what it is. When you get the burn, when you get the time, you got to do your thing. And it was so bad, ODDSJ was talking about heading down to the G League and figuring out how good his luck was on that spot. So now, when we look at the Detroit Pistons roster and the impact, there's one thing that comes to mind in my mind when I look at the squad. All right? I feel as though that my boy Blake Griffin, he's getting older. He needs to get waived, okay? He needs to go. They need to find a spot for Blake Griffin. I believe we just signed a new contract, but they need to let Mr. Blake Griffin go. He needs to go to a contender. It needs to be a full-up rebuild. Now, do they have pieces on the Detroit Pistons? I'm going to tell you, hell yes, they do. We're going to look at their lineup right now. Let's look at the squad. They're 5-18. They let me down because I had them as one of those teams that was going to surprise and make the playoffs because of the addition of Jeremy Grant. However, that didn't happen. And now we got an assortment of, I think, some good defensive talent if they can put it together. Now they're building a young squad, all right? A dangerously young squad. Blake Griffin, he's probably the only old goose left. Where can they move him? Jeremy Grant, you sign him long term. I love him. Josh Jackson, can he have a revitalization? Killian Hayes, point guard, shooting guard. He hasn't come around yet. Nothing has come about. I think it's coaching, okay? Because he perfectly molds into the new NBA in the pick and roll game. Sequoia Doumbouya is supposed to be a superstar. We'll have to see his progression. Maybe a Pascal Siakam peak. Again, another nice piece. Isaiah Stewart, I love him. People don't know about this kid. Inside player. Remember, I name these guys all the time on guys you can pick up. I talked about Naz Reid. I said Jersey's in the house. He's going to do his thing. I'm going to tell you, Isaiah Stewart, if he gets the minutes, he can be a dangerous, formidable backup power forward, possibly starting power forward on your squad. I like him. DeLon Wright, not sure about this play here, man. He's solid, but just not sure about it. I think they got to move him. Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey is in there, the big draft pick from Villanova. Guy like what I'm seeing there. They're glue guy. You're a 3-and-D guy. Love it. Mason Plumlee comes over for some height, dunking ability, great defender. Tremendous pickup for them in getting in getting that done. So the other factors are Jahlil Okafor was there, right? So you forget about that. You got Mace Plumlee, the big leaping guy. You know, what's that dude's name? John, I forgot. There used to be a commercial where this dude jumped over somebody's head, and he was a white guy. I forgot his name. 101. Tom Chambers. Tom Chambers. Mason Plumlee, Tom Chambers, my sucker. And then we got Jahlil Okafor, another inside beast, not really known for his defense. Ronnie Magruder, I'm unsure of that. Flip Mahalu, again, a tremendous talent off the bench. Small forward, definitely could be a starter somewhere. However, even in the role play, I think it's exciting to have him. Saban Lee, don't know who that is. Wade Ellington, of course, we know about him. Servetus, another young draft pick. And then we got Frank Jackson that made this squad over from the New Orleans Pelicans. They let him go. So, but not a bad squad, okay? But not a playoff squad right now, judging by the record. So when you bring in a Dennis Smith Jr. to this lineup, the offensive mindset changes, right? DSGA is a potential 20-point per game scorer. Okay, he's quicker than Derrick Rose right now. He definitely is more athletic than Derrick Rose right now. This is an upgrade to me from the Pistons' perspective, and a cheap look to look at a player that should have been and probably will be, prove me wrong, will be an all-star in this league. Can't say superstar, an all-star. So we'll see how the trend goes and how they play him. But at this time, Dennis Smith Jr. makes his way over. Now, let's go over to the other side. Matter of fact, because it's so long, I'm going to hit another video on the Knicks. Save that for last. We'll talk about Derrick Rose. We'll talk about the impact. We'll talk about how the Knicks trying to get the playoffs. But right now, it's all about Dennis Smith Jr., and he makes his way to Detroit. This is a great opportunity. Just needs to show out. Hey, trade Blake Griffin. You heard me again. I'm out of here. Peace.